Good morning and welcome. I'm Mrs. Melanie Kirpin, and I'm the Vice Principal for the K-6 here at the DLC. I've been here quite a while. In fact, I might have taught some of you in grade 4.
And I'm Miss Kathy Grad, and I am the grades 7, 8, 9 Vice Principal here at the DLC, and I am happy to be here for our discussion this morning. And I have not had the privilege of teaching any of you yet.
So thanks for taking the time to be with us today. We wanted to reach out to our present grade 6s to give you an idea of the differences that you're going to see in grade 7. So, Ms. Grad, how was your transition from grade 6 to grade 7? By the time you were in grade 7, were you old enough to stoke the fire yet?
I was. And how about you? Were there textbooks back then?
Really, enough of that. Let's get on with it. So over the next 30 or 40 minutes, we hope to answer the questions that you might have about this transition. And you're going to see some familiar faces of your grade 6 teachers. And
we're going to introduce you to some of the teachers that you might have next year in grade 7.
So as you know, our teachers and support teachers work together to develop the skills of the students as they move through the grades.
And we've compiled some information that addresses some of the most common questions and concerns that we often hear from our families as their children move into the middle years grades.
So throughout our presentation, we're going to share information and allow you a chance to ask questions from our team. Rather than wait till the end, go ahead and put your questions in the chat as they come up, and we'll try to answer them as they come up. So with that, Ms. Grad, would you like to start our presentation?
I would love to. One of the first things we want to do is we want to take a look at what public education looks like. So this is typically what somebody goes through. So elementary school is basically kindergarten to grade 5 or 6. And sometimes it'll go all the way up to grade 8 and sometimes grade 9, depending on where you live. Well, middle school is typically grades 7, 8, and 9, and it's also known as junior high school. Secondary school is grade 10, 11, and 12. And post-secondary, if you continue to go to school, is after high school, and it is college or university. You might get a diploma, a certificate, a degree, and it really depends on how long you will go, depending on the type of career that you want to get into. And so that is what we go through in public education. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Bree.
Hello, grade 6 families. Many of you probably recognize me. My name is Miss Bree Phillips, and I'm one of our grade 6 teachers. I have been very lucky to get to work with a lot of you this year. So I'm going to talk about how the role of the learning mentor and communication between students, parents and guardians, and their teachers can be expected to change as you transition from elementary to middle school. In grade 6, learning mentors are important to help facilitate and support student learning. Facilitating the learning means that the learning mentor helps to guide students through the lessons, and they are often involved in the direct teaching of concepts. As a learning mentor, your job will become a little less hands-on in grade 7, as we encourage students to work on gaining independence as they move into middle school. In grade 7, the learning mentor is important to help supervise learning and communication. To supervise rather than facilitate learning means that the role of the learning mentor is more so to help keep students on track. So this might look like helping your student set up and maintain a good environment for learning, reviewing and ensuring submissions, and helping to troubleshoot some of those tech issues that we all know come up from time to time. As with the shift in responsibility with the role of the learning mentor, as students move from grade 6 to 7, you will be expected to become more independent in communicating with your teachers. Parents and guardians will still be included in all communications from teachers, but students should have and use their own email account for school communications, separate from their parents or guardians. Students will use this email to communicate directly with their teachers. Many of you already have this. You might have your SunWest email and you might be using it actively. It's great. Keep it up. As you move into grade 7, you should be becoming familiar with how you learn best and when you need to ask for more guidance. So when you communicate these needs, you're advocating for yourself. Gaining self-advocacy means you should be becoming more comfortable with things like asking your teachers questions, booking calls for yourself, and responding to your own feedback. So are there any questions about the role of the learning mentor and communication? You might be able to hear my dog complaining in the background too. Okay, if we have no questions, then I will pass it on to Mrs. Tricia Darrow, who will be talking about time commitment and screen time.
Good morning, and thank you, Bree. As Bree mentioned, my name is Mrs. Tricia Darrow, and I am also one of the grade 6 teachers. So many of you will be familiar with me, and of course, probably with Miss Phillips and I together, as we sometimes offer combined classes. So the slide I'm going to talk about is called time. So there is a little bit of a difference between the grade 6 and 7 as far as the amount of time that is required for students to work on their schoolwork. The grade 6, the time required for focused schoolwork will vary depending on the specific student and the family. We usually recommend about 3 to 4 hours a day. Slightly different for the grade 7s. Time required for focused schoolwork is closer to 4 to 5 hours a day. So there is a little bit of a difference as you get older. And of course, that'll continue to change as you move up in the grades. As far as when in the day that the students should do the work, this is another discussion that needs to be held between student and their families. Keeping in mind when you're planning when a student should do their work, of course, you want to think about things like um, uh, what your student works best at what time, but also things like when are class meetings and other activities, because as you get into grade 7, there will be more things offered. All right, so remember to put in any questions that you might have. And with that, I'm going to move on to the next one called screen time. The biggest difference between grade 6 and 7 with screen time is that grade 6 students, for the most part, as you already know, can work on the screen or they can work from the box that was provided from them from DLC. So most work for grade 6 can be completed without ever going online. Students may spend their time online watching lesson videos and participating in team meetings, but they can also do the work from the box that was sent out to them. In grade 7, some work can be completed without going online. Most time is spent some work can be done without going online, but most of the time the work is being done while you're accessing your materials through the DLC, working on assignments, and participating in team meetings. Often I have found that the grade 6 students prefer to be online, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, but in grade 7, it's more of a requirement. And as you get older, you'll also find that students can feel more independent to making the choice and adjusting their time. So the screen time, even though we do encourage it in grade 6, it becomes more of a requirement in grade 7. So does anybody have any questions about those two slides? If not, and of course you can always type them in, I'd like to introduce for the next slide, Nicole McLaughlin. Thank you.
Thanks, Mrs. Darrow. Again, I am Mrs. Nicole McLaughlin, and I'm one of the grade 6 teachers here at the DLC. And this morning, I will be talking about teachers. In grade 6, you are accustomed to having just one teacher for all of your courses. Moving into grade 7, you will have 2 teachers in most cases. One teacher will teach ELA, social studies, PAA, and arts ed. The other teacher will teach math, science, health, career ed, and phys ed. This separation allows for teachers with more expertise in the subject areas to help guide you. This also helps to prepare you for high school courses where there is a different teacher for every subject. Please note that if you have a regional teacher, you will have just one teacher for all of your courses. We currently have regional teachers in the Regina region and the Hudson Bay region. Having more than one teacher means that you will have more people to communicate your plans with. However, it also means that you will have more support to help you with your coursework. Do we have any questions about teachers? Seeing none, we'll move on to Ms. Belinsky, who will be talking about courses.
Thank you, Ms. McLaughlin. Hello, my name is Ms. Kalia Belinsky, and I'm one of the middle years teachers at the SunWest DLC. Today, I'm going to be covering what your course load might look like as you transition from elementary to middle years. Now, you'll see on the screen that in grade 6, your courses are 7 of them. So you have your ELA, Math, Social, Science, Health, and Career, Arts, Ed, and PhysEd. Okay. As Mrs. McLaughlin was saying, you will have 2 teachers in most cases that will help you manage and balance your course load so that you can experience all the courses and all the learning outcomes to prepare you for the next step in grade 8. As you move into becoming a middle year student, you will notice there's one main difference, and that there is the addition of the PAA course, or also known as Practical and Applied Arts. This is one of the areas that you will see the biggest shift in as you move on from grade 6 to 7. Is there any questions that I can cover quickly about the increased course load? If not, let's take a quick look at what Practical and Applied Arts is. Practical and Applied Arts, also known as PAA, is for students in grades 7 to 9. In the beginning of the year, students will choose 3 modules that they will complete throughout their whole grade 7 year. These choices are not locked and can be changed at any time in communication with your teacher. You'll see we have so many different choices for different interests and different skills for our DLC students. These modules will lead to high school credit options in grade 10, 11, and 12, where you can further your skills that you're learning in these years. Are there any questions about grade 7 courses or Practical and Applied Arts? If not, we are going to hear from Mr. McLaughlin about what your courses will look like in middle year's course design.
Thank you. I am Mr. Todd McLaughlin, and I am one of the middle years teachers at the DLC. The overall design of the middle years courses will differ from what you're used to in grade 6. In grade 6, all courses have a consistent format, while starting in grade 7, the course format will vary somewhat from subject to subject. This is done to accommodate the unique needs of each course at this level. Also, in grade 7, you will find that there is more text to read to complete the lesson than what you're used to in grade 6. It is important that when you begin a course to take some time to read the course information section of the course. Here you will find key details about the format and expectations of the course. 2 courses that differ in format are Physical Education and ELA. We will highlight these 2 courses now. The Physical Education courses at the middle years level offer an exciting and stimulating way to be active and meet the physical education outcomes. Each course is divided into 3 areas: active living, skillful movement, and relationships. These 3 areas are made up of a series of games where students will acquire the knowledge, skills, and actions to safely engage in physical activity and improve their overall fitness. When students engage in physical activity, they will log in on a program called FitStats. FitStats allows the students to record and track their physical activity and skill development. It also allows us as teachers the ability to monitor and track each student's activity. The middle year's physical education courses are fun and informative. Paraphrasing feedback from one of my families, the student did not realize that phys ed could be so much fun in an online course, especially for someone that struggles with physical activity. I'm excited for each of you to be part of these classes next year. Before we carry on, does anyone have any questions about the course design or physical education? All right. Well, then I will turn it over to Miss Ives, who will talk about the ELA courses.
Hello, everyone. So in grade 7, ELA is a combination of print and online resources. So earlier you heard that there are more resources that you end up with online. So ELA is one of those that looks a little bit different. In your box of materials, you will still receive a print copy of Units 1 and 2. The print booklets have your lesson guides and templates for doing your outlines of your assignments. These units also have lesson videos in the online course so you can receive direct instruction. But there aren't only 2 units in the course. Units 3 and 4 won't show up in your box of materials, but all of the materials for those units are accessed in your online course. This blended approach is good practice as you move closer to fully online ELA courses in grade 9 and beyond. Units in grade 7 ELA include radio, a novel study of wholes, a student-led inquiry research project, and poetry. So speaking of the novel study, there's a difference between your novel study that you would have done this year in grade 6 and the novel study that you'll do in grade 7. In grade 7, you'll read the whole novel and then complete the activities, rather than having chapter by chapter activities. This helps us learn how to synthesize ideas or put them together and think about the big picture of themes and the story as a whole. Don't worry though, if you worry that you're going to have difficulty remembering every single detail as you read through the book, your teacher can provide some suggestions for how to make notes on key ideas as you read, if that's something that you think would be helpful for you. Wholes is an exploration of ideas like interpersonal relationships, integrity, and growth. It's one of my personal favorites, and I love being able to share it with students. As you move through each grade, you're always building on your skills. This is true as you move from grade 6 to 7, just as it would have been when you moved from grade 5 to grade 6. In grade 7, you'll get to apply your thinking skills and your research skills more independently as part of your work in different subject areas. This means you'll be expected to use specific examples and details to explain your ideas and show your teacher what you know. Responses in full sentences and paragraphs become more common in your work. You want to make sure that you can share as much of your knowledge as possible and integrate all of the things that you're learning. As you know from the work you're currently doing in grade 6, you can meet your learning outcomes using the DLC courses exactly as they're laid out in your books and your online lessons. This is true in grade 7 as well. Sometimes, though, there might be something you're doing outside of those courses that might connect to your learning. Maybe you're in 4-H, where you do a speech, or you're taking music lessons, or maybe you play a sport. Maybe you're able to attend a DLC event that connects to learning outcomes. Maybe you have an idea for a different way that you would like to show your learning on a specific topic or skill. Adaptations to the courses can be made through conversations with your teachers to make sure that the evidence of learning you submit still matches the target outcomes. But there might sometimes be times when this isn't possible because of something specific in the outcomes that's really required as you get closer to high school. But your teachers can help you figure out what adaptations or tweaks are possible. For example, if you don't love writing, writing is required, but maybe there's a way that you can shift the topic of what you're writing about. If you do have questions, please share them with us and we will help to answer those for you. In the meantime, I'm going to send you back to Mrs. Kirpin and Ms. Grad to share more about learning materials. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Stephanie. So for grade 6, you got a large box of materials sent out to you in the mail. For grade 7, you'll still get a box of materials, but it will be much smaller. So we want to, as mentioned, we want to transition you from the print to the partial print to high school when everything is online.
So we've already talked about language arts. Stephanie just talked about that. So I would like to mention a few other subjects and what you're going to get. So you'll get a math workbook, but no textbook. Instead of textbooks in social and science, you will be given access to what we call e-texts. Like grade 6, health has a small booklet with the inquiry project that you will work on and art and phys ed are completely online.
Thanks, Ms. Grad, and thanks everyone for helping us better understand what you can expect as grade 6 students going into grade 7. So if you have any more questions, please put them in the comments or the chat section, and we'll give you a minute to do that. So as we wait for those questions, our grade 6 students might be wondering what happens next. Could you tell them a little bit about that, Ms. Grad?
I sure can do that. So if you let us know, excuse me, that you'll be staying with us next year, around May 1st, we're going to automatically move you into grade 7. And then on your dashboard, you will see grade 7 courses and also something new called Welcome to 2022-23. And then in fall, we will put you into your courses with your teachers, and they will reach out to you by email and by phone.
Well, I don't see any questions coming up yet. So for anyone who wants to access this presentation, you can re-watch it on our DLC YouTube channel. Or if you prefer to download the slides, then we'll post them on the DLC and Me page that you have. That's our homeroom page for our DLC students.
And if some of you still have questions that we might not have gotten to this morning, you can ask your teacher, or you can email dlchealth@sunwestsd.ca, and we'll be sure to get right back to you.
So just checking one last time for questions. So thank you. Thank you all the grade 6 and 7 teachers for all of you sharing information today. And thanks to all of you for joining us. So say goodbye, Ms. Grad.
Goodbye, Ms. Grad.
Really? Anyway, that's all, folks. Hope to see you next year. Bye for now.
Bye for now.